by The Tale of Ulezelski and the Unicorn, Book 3. Dedicated to my grandfathers, my great-grandfathers, and their fathers before them. Chapter 1. Ulezelski the Hunter. Once upon a time, in a kingdom not far, lived Count Karl Ulezelski III, the man with the uneven brow. He was a hunter by trade ever since he was a small child, a knee-high burden for his parents to bear. He ruled his lands with an even temper when the sun was out and brightly lit in his favor, and he ruled his lands with an iron fist when the moon was full and glowing in anger. When his two dogs, Bertha and Flossie, barked, most would cringe in fear. When they barked at him, he barked back, and they listened with attentive, obedient ears. He lived by an old credo passed down to him from one father to the next: either kill or be killed. That is the way the Ulezelskis have always lived. Now it was time for Ulezelski to teach his son Stefan the ways of a hunter, but it seemed the old ways were lost on him. He didn't have a brutish side trying to get out and scream at the world like his father did. So he went with his son deep into the woods to teach him all that he knows. But he was unable to get him to raise that bow and carry on the family credo. The two were returning home from that trip into the woods up the steep path along the mountainside to their kingdom that lay in the valley just on the other side. The wind was quite fierce that day. It blew in angry fury and heavy droplets of misty rain, clouding their sights whenever it felt the need to make them struggle. Silence was all that was between them since they left the woods, until his horse stopped walking. Ulezelski stepped in front and yelled, "Just give it a good kick of the heel, and that old companion of mine should get moving." Stefan gave it a good kick, but it seemed that old horse of his wasn't moving without his father's stern heel planted firmly in his backside. Ulezelski slanted his eyes with anguishing distraught over this bothersome annoyance. "What's the hold up now? Just stick your heel in him like you really mean it. He won't bite." And then he turned back around in a quiet, somber way. "Father, I'm trying the best I can, but your horse just won't budge for me," he replied as he raised his voice over the cold and chilly banter of the howling winds. Ulezelski lowered his uneven brow as he let out another disgruntled grunt towards the son's timid side. He then tugged on the reins tightly. The horse promptly met his request, and they started moving. The path had been fairly easy to navigate, but as they approached the narrow end, the winds began to act erratically. Ulezelski planted his feet firmly on the ground and waited for the bad weather to pass, as if though this were nothing more than a distraction that blew his long black hair over his eyes. Once the wind subsided and the misty air had cleared, the two looked on and out at the path ahead of them. It had crumbled with ease under the majestic command of the gods, left to fade on the side of the mountain. Ulezelski threw a rock over the edge, and then he looked into his son's eyes with growing concern. "I'm going to have to lead my horse across this pass. I cannot do it with you riding on his backside. Hug the mountain tightly and make your way out in front. I'll be right behind you, leading our trusted companion across, ready to catch you if you fall. We can't stay on this mountainside any longer, or the rest of it might give way." Ulezelski pulled on the reins and stepped out onto the path, testing it for strength. He then put a hand up against his son's back, arguing to himself in frustration. I know it is a difficult challenge, but you can do this. I have faith in you. Don't look down and make sure each step counts." His father then grunted in an intimidating manner, and so the two started to make their way out inch by inch along the narrow path. The two kept at it until another bad gust of wind slammed them up against slammed up against them. Stefan held on for dear life while his father gripped the reins to put his horse's troubled mind at ease. Stefan had almost made it to the other side when the misty air returned. The path beneath his feet started to crumble. He tried to secure his grip and keep his footing. He let go just as his father kneeled down and grabbed onto his hand. The fear between the two was something they hadn't shared before. He lifted his son up to safety and then led him and his horse the rest of the way out of this difficult pass.